Can I put the star up this year? Time for dinner.
No one thought it could ever happen here. They are an army of international terrorists.
America has not been invaded by a foreign enemy in nearly 200 years.
Their target, America. Their objective, control.
18 hours from now, America will be a different place.
Now, only one thing stands in their way.
It's time to die. Didn't work, huh? Now it will.
They wanted a war.
See you in hell.
He gave them one.
Send me a postcard.
Chuck Norris. Invasion, U.S.A.
Hey guys, it's Awesome Communications, and welcome to my review of a unorthodox holiday film, and that is Invasion U.S.A. It's time. Seriously, Invasion U.S.A. is actually a Christmas movie. It takes place, a lot of the action takes place on Christmas. There's a lot of action sequences that take place in a mall that's decorated with the Christmas decorations. There's a neighborhood. Where the people are setting up their Christmas decorations. It's blown up by Richard Lynch and his bunch of asshole fucking terrorists. Honestly, Invasion USA is totally one of those films that you could totally watch every Christmas because it has a Christmas theme to it. It takes place on Christmas, and I mean, come on, Chuck Norris, you can't go wrong. I think I might just make this a new holiday tradition for me to watch Invasion USA every Christmas because it's something different, you know. I mean, a lot of people watch Die Hard, which is an absolute classic, and people might watch Lethal Weapon or something, or, you know, but who do you know that spends their Christmas watching Invasion USA? Anyway, really enjoy this movie. It's I hadn't seen it in a while, and it was the first Chuck Norris film I saw when I was a kid, when I was younger, and I really liked it a lot. And then watching it again, I still have to admit this is my favorite Chuck Norris movie, is Invasion USA. And critics hated the movie when it came out. Even Roger Ebert gave it a very negative review, saying that it's just a generic copy of other action films. And I'm like, I don't really agree with that because the plot line is really ballsy. It's about, you know, Rostov, played by Richard Lynch, hires a bunch of his cronies to basically invade the United States, and a lot of terrorist attacks on the United States on the shores of, you know, of Miami. Like they start off blowing up places in Miami, and then they move forward to other places in the United States. It causes a crime wave across the U.S. They bring the terrorism to our shores, and it's up to Chuck Norris, Matt Hunter, to kick their ass and save America. And yeah, you could say that it is cliched a little bit, but it doesn't matter because it's fun. It's entertaining. It's a very entertaining, fun movie that's has guns a-blazing, and it's just testosterone packed. If you're a fan of 80s action films, this is one of the best ones out there. This is one of Chuck Norris's best, is Invasion USA. It's got a good villain in Richard Lynch, who plays Rostov. It's got a lot of, I thought it had some decent suspenseful moments in the film. You know, like there's, you know, there might be a bomb on a children's school bus, and what's going to happen? Chuck Norris has to save the day. And of course, Chuck Norris always shows up in the right place at the right time, and then has a fun one-liner to say too. it's at the right time as well. So it's just a really entertaining flick, Invasion USA. The film begins actually pretty with a bang, with where a group of Cuban refugees in a boat, and they're sailing to the United States, and they're first met by what appears to be a U.S. Coast Guard boat, but it's not. It's actually it's Rostov and his men. They welcome them to the United States, and then they shoot them dead, and then they lift up some compartment underneath the boat, and they find cocaine, and so that was the whole reason why they wanted the cocaine. And it is then revealed that the armed personnel on the boat were communist-led Latin American guerrillas dressed as U.S. Coast Guardsmen. Then the real Coast Guard eventually finds the boat filled with murdered Cubans off the coast of Florida. The FBI and the Miami Police Department, they arrive at the docks to investigate the murders. The communist guerrillas eventually land in Florida and exchange the drugs for weaponry from a drug dealer, which I believe is played by Billy Drago. And so then they try to do a drug dealer. They are led by a Soviet operative, Mikhail Rostov, played by Richard Lynch, who earlier had been disguised as a fake Coast Guard captain who helped kill the Cuban refugees to get the cocaine. Former CIA agent Matt Hunter, played by Chuck Norris, is asked to come out of retirement, but he declines. But when Rostov and a team of guerrillas destroy Hunter's residence in the Everglades in a failed assassination attempt, this convinces Hunter to reconsider. And the first time you see Chuck Norris, he's wrestling a fucking gator. Okay, you know how bad you can't get more badass than that. Matt Hunter is wrestling a fucking alligator. And so during the assassination attempt, his friends get killed as well. And so he decides, okay, I should get involved here. Now the movie is now before I get into the rest of the plot, I just wanted to mention a few other things. It's directed by Joseph Zito, who I thought did a really good job directing this film, especially the action sequences. It had a good pace to it, even though it's 107 minutes long. So it's about a little bit, yeah, it's an hour and 50 minutes, but it goes by pretty quick. Doesn't feel too long. And there's a few other, Billy Drago plays a drug dealer and Mickey, and then there's another, so yeah, Richard Lynch plays Rostov. So anyway, I'll get back to the plot synopsis. So later in the day, hundreds of additional guerrillas that land at the beaches of southern Florida and then move inland using several pre-positioned trucks. The guerrillas then begin their assault by destroying suburban homes. And these suburban homes are actually real homes getting blown up because the Canon Films, the producers, were able to find a neighborhood that was being ready to be demolished anyway, so they were able to pretty much just blow up some real suburban homes. And this is where it starts to become a Christmas movie, because it starts out with these kids, and they're bickering about with their dad about who's gonna get to put the star on top of the tree, and of course the father's like, I get to put the star on the tree, because he wants to shut up the kids. And then the kids end up going back. He tells the kids to go back in the house, and the little girl, she goes back in, and she's the one that wanted to do it, so she puts the tree on herself. And Rostov waits. He watches with his men till she goes back into the house, and then he pulls out a bazooka and blows up their house on Christmas. This is not a Merry Christmas for these people in this suburb, because he just blows up house after house after house, Christmas decorations and all. And you're like, man, this movie has some balls. And then, so they destroy these suburban homes, and then another group of guerrillas, impersonating Miami police officers, end up attacking a community center full of Cubans that have come, immigrated from the U.S., not from the U.S., immigrated from Cuba to the U.S. Duh! And one of them is actually Michael Carmine, who played DeJesus in Leviathan. And he's actually the first one to get shot by these crooked, villains, these bad guys. And I'm trying to see if... Okay, yeah, it's not who I thought it was. James Pax plays this character. Koyo, who's an Asian gunner. Yeah, Michael Carmine plays Tonio, character named Tonio. And an interesting bit of trivia about the film is that Whoopi Goldberg was actually Chuck Norris's first choice to play the female journalist. But Joseph Zito disagreed and cast someone else. I honestly think Whoopi Goldberg would have been better than Melissa Prophet because I thought she was terrible. She was a terrible actress in this. Whoopi Goldberg might have been really fun. I mean, Chuck Norris and Whoopi Goldberg, man, that might be kind of fun to watch. That'd be interesting. Interesting. That'd be an interesting one to check. Interesting sight to see. And I guess Steven Berkoff was offered the role of Rostov, but he passed because of the violence. Which is funny because Steven Berkoff ended up in Beverly Hills Cop and in The Living Daylights, if I remember correctly. Some pretty really violent movies. And then until recently, Invasion USA was actually MGM's second highest selling home video title behind Gone with the Wind. That means it was pretty popular because it sold a lot of money, it sold a lot of tapes. And there's a good reason, because it's Chuck fucking Norris. Anyway, and this has some of his best one-liners too. Like when he goes in and tries to interrogate this guy to find out where Rostov is. This other guy comes in and tries to give him some shit, and Matt Hunter, Chuck Norris comes back with this awesome one-liner. It's like, if you come back in, I'll hit you with so many rights you'll be begging for a left. This is just like such a badass. He goes into a bar to talk to this one guy, and this bouncer guy's like, hold it, where are you going? I don't think I know you, pal. And the Matt Hunter's like, that makes us even. I don't know you either. And then he ends up breaking a beer bottle in his hands. And then he talks to this friend of his, and then this friend of his says, see you in hell. And Matt Hunter says, send me a postcard. And then before he, the guy's name is Thomas that he was stabbing and trying to interrogate. The other guy came in and tried to give him some shit. And he says, I'm going to hit you with so many rights you'll be begging for a left. And then he then ends up giving him a grenade. And he's like, in his hand, he's like, if you live for this, tell Rostov, it's time to die. And then there's this other guy who's trying to give him some shit. And he's like, you're beginning to irritate me. Chuck Norris is so awesome in this movie. So anyway, so you have all that going on, and you have the Cubans get shot up. A squad car with actual Miami policemen drives by to investigate, but the survivors start vandalizing the car, and the police drive away. The FBI has no idea who's behind the attacks. Hunter and CIA believe the Rostov is behind the attacks. And as the terrorist attacks continue in Miami and all across the United States, race riots and general chaos develop within the city as the terrorists had planned. Next, the guerrillas attack a shopping mall where the people are doing their Christmas shopping. One of the guys is going to drop a bomb off there, but one of the patrons like, hey, you left your package. Hey, hey, hey! And the guy's running away. And if some of the terrorist guys end up open fire on a bunch of people in the mall, and Chuck Norris drives through the mall in this truck and just starts shooting these fuckers, and then gets out, and then he takes out these two Uzis right here and just starts mowing down these guys, and there's a little bit of a chase too where he's driving through the mall. And it's another thing, they were actually able to demolish a real mall because this mall was going to be demolished anyway, so the filmmakers were given permission to just blow it to shreds, just blow it up, drive through it, smash it up, shoot it up, do whatever you want. And it's a lot of fun. It's a very entertaining action sequence. And that's where Chuck Norris meets up with Melissa Prophet's character. She's a photographer. Excuse me, damn allergies are fucking acting up for some reason. So he meets up with the photographer lady, and then there's the bad guys end up hot wiring a truck, and one of the patrons in the mall For some reason, one of the bad guys decides to grab her and hold on to her around her waist, and they drive off. So Chuck Norris chases after them and ends up saving the other girl, killing the other guys, and then he goes on and continues, trying to stop these terrorist attacks. These terrorist guys are trying to blow up a church, and then Chuck Norris comes in and he grabs the bomb. And he's actually the guy's trying to flip the switch, nothing's happening, and Chuck Norris is up on top of the roof, and he's like, "Didn't work, huh?" And then they throws the terrorists their own bomb, and then he throws down their own bomb in a suitcase, and he's like, "Now it will," and then boom, big ass explosion. Excuse me. And so it's really, pretty badass. And then actually, Rostov meets up with the other guy who Chuck Norris left to live because he actually survived because he threw the grenade and blew up some other dude's car. And then the guy ends up telling Rostov, it's like, what is Hunter going to say? What was Hunter going to say? Hunter wants to say, it's time to die. Ah! And then Rostov ends up shooting the guy and kills him. And so he goes in, they attack the shopping mall, the National Guard troops are called up, martial law is declared, and armed civilians organized to protect their communities from further guerrilla attacks. Hunter continues to go after the terrorists, stopping the plans to bomb a church, killing Rostov's right-hand man Nico, Alexander Zale outside of a shop, and saving a school bus full of children. And the school bus full of children won. He ends up taking a bomb off the bus, and he drives up next to the car with the terrorist, and he's like, "Did you lose this?" And then slaps it right in the car, and they drive away, and they blow up. And so just a lot of fun. It's kind of silly, but at the same time, it's just so entertaining. I'm glad it doesn't take itself too seriously. So then the plan is he thwarts these attacks, but Hunter's discouraged to come to a carnival bomb by the terrorists, realizing that there are too many of them to spread out too far for him to effectively stem the overall tide of their attacks. Because for everyone that he takes care of, there's hundreds more that end up slipping through the cracks. So he decides that he's going to make a deal with the government, that he's going to establish a special theater command for the southeastern United States with headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. And at the command center, all 50 state governors and military officials meet to stop terror attacks. And then Hunter comes with this plan that with the FBI, where they're going to take him into custody so he can give his account of thwarting Nico's attack, and as he is taken to the command center. And this is what he says, like a badass. He's giving an interview, and he's directing it directly towards Rostov. And he's like, "Nico was easy. Now it's your turn. One night you'll close your eyes, and when they open, I'll be there. It'll be time to die." He just keeps repeating that, and it's awesome. And Rostov's already had nightmares of Chuck Norris and getting ready to kill his ass. So he's like, "I want Hunter, kill Matt Hunter. Let's go after Matt Hunter." So that's the whole plan. He sets him up into a trap. So he gives he goads Rostov on national television to come out and kill him. Rostov orders all the guerrillas to assault the center. The guerrillas find no one inside the center, and the National Guard surrounds the area with tanks and troops, using the rest of Hunter as a trap, and they gun them all down, shoot them up with tanks, shoot them up with machine guns. And as the battle rages outside, Hunter comes face to face with Rostov and finally kills him with a rocket launcher in a badass scene. And he's like, "Rostov, it's time." And then he just takes blows Rostov to smithereens with a rocket launcher. And then the movie ends. That's how it ends. The National Guard stops the terrorists. They shoot them dead, and the ones that are left alive, they surrender. And Chuck Norris blows fucking the bad guy to smithereens with a rocket launcher. What else could you ask for? Merry Christmas. Chuck fucking Norris blows up fucking Richard Lynch with a fucking rocket launcher. You're welcome. Anyway, I really don't know what to say about Invasion USA, except this is an awesome movie. It's a lot of fun. It deserves a higher rating on IMDb. It's very entertaining. It's one of Chuck Norris's best films. and it's one of my favorite canon films, and it's a great way to spend Christmas. It's a great way to spend your Christmas watching Chuck Norris kick ass because it's Chuckmas. But anyway, I just don't know what else to say about the film. This is rated out of 5 stars. I'm gonna give it 4.5. Only for, it's only pretty much a little bit of the battle at the end got a little bit repetitive. It was just gunfire, and the actress who played Melissa Prophet, who plays McGuire, is kind of annoying. But other than that, I still really highly enjoyed this film. I thought it was a really kick-ass action classic. But anyway, I really don't know what to say about the film except thank you for watching my review of Invasion USA, and I will see you guys later. See ya.